It may not be your responsibility, but is it your response-ability? Hello, my name's Chet Davis, and this is Reflections. If you've been around me a while, you know I love words. I love selecting the appropriate word. I believe words are powerful. Words can carry great meaning. And I love learning some of the meanings behind words and also reflecting carefully about the words we use regularly. I've been thinking a lot recently about the word responsibility. When I look up the word responsibility in Webster's dictionary, it tells us it's the quality or state of being responsible, such as having a moral, legal, or mental accountability. What's interesting, the second definition in many dictionaries suggests that the word responsibility has some negative connotations. For example, something which one is responsible, a possible burden, that she or he has neglected their responsibilities. We may hear oftentimes someone sharing that, I'm not doing that. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility. But I want to suggest a new way of looking at the word responsibility. I believe if we look at it differently, there may be a great opportunity, an ability to serve somebody, to help somebody, to assist somebody, that maybe we have the ability to respond. So if I think about the word responsibility, I tend to think of, a list of requirements in a job sheet, my duties, my responsibilities. In fact, that's often a word used in a job description. What are your responsibilities? And we think of those as tasks, as requirements. But if we change the I to an A, we have the ability to respond. So if we break down that word, right, responsibility, and switch ability to the front, we have the ability to respond to something. Maybe it's because we have certain powers in a role we're given, whether you're a parent or a minister, a member of the clergy. Maybe you're a supervisor or a manager. Maybe you're a teacher or a first responder, a member of the military. You have a title, the power, the job role to respond to something. Maybe it has to do with a personal character trait. Maybe you have the compassion. Maybe you have the understanding. Maybe you have a deep ability to connect with people, to talk with people. Maybe it's by virtue of a talent you have. So if we look at it in those ways, that you have the ability to respond to something, maybe then there's a greater opportunity to serve someone, whether it's somebody in your family, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's somebody at work, maybe it's a colleague at work, maybe it's a customer at work, maybe it's somebody in the community, whether they're going through some struggles, or maybe they just need somebody to be with them. The concept of responsibility came very clear to me a number of years ago. My father had just passed away from a long illness, a series of illnesses. And he and my mother were inseparable, and everybody knew that in their community and our family. And it was a real shock for my mom now to be on her own. And in the days and weeks that followed, we struggled to help her with this transition time. And it became clear by being with her and also hearing from friends and neighbors that truly my mother was not in a place where she could live alone and take care of herself any longer. And we didn't realize at the time, but my father had been such a source of not only loving companionship, but really helping her to exist on a daily basis. She was in the early onset of dementia. And I initially struggled with this. Now, as a son, as a member of the family, I, of course, relished the opportunity to help a loved one. But there was so much that had to be done, and I caught myself thinking, why me? why am I the one that has to take care of this? Why didn't mom and dad figure this out, before dad passed away? Why didn't they have a plan in place, that mom had a place where she could be cared for and all the paperwork signed and all of this figured out? And then it slapped me like a bolt of lightning. It's like, Chet, you have the ability to respond to this situation. You were placed here. This is a time and a place that you have unique abilities. You have opportunities to be there and to respond to this situation. Now, at first I sounded like a little bit of a whiny teenaged Luke Skywalker, from the first film. And I realized that was a natural reaction. But then I did have the ability to respond to this. About 7 months before my father passed away, I was suddenly let go from my job. The company I had spent almost a decade with made some management changes, and almost overnight I was out of my full-time job. And so I went into business for myself and loved doing that, and had lots of clients in a short period of time. And what it allowed me to realize is that I had enough flexibility in my schedule to be able to be there with my mom, to be able to be there to help my mom through this time. And so I want to encourage you to look at that word responsibility differently. I invite you today and every day to reflect on your purpose, on your mission, on your ability to respond to those situations that maybe are very apparent to you. Maybe there are challenges to do with someone near you. Maybe it's a challenge with somebody at work or a situation at work. Maybe it's a bigger challenge in your life or in our state, in our country, in our world, that you have the ability to respond. And instead of shirking that responsibility, instead of saying, well, you know what, that's not me, and maybe sometimes it is not you, but think of those times where it is you because you have the talent, the time, maybe it's the income, maybe it's certain traits you have, maybe it's certain experiences you have that you can help somebody. Again, maybe it's somebody right there in your community. Maybe it's a nonprofit organization, a cause across the country or around the world that you can lend some time to, because maybe you are able to respond, and maybe there's a calling there for you to step into that gap and be who you are meant to be. So even if it's not your responsibility, maybe it's your response-ability. Thanks for joining me in this episode of Reflections. In the next episode, I'd love to share some thoughts that I call The Eyes Have It. Go out there and make it a great day now.